Okay, good morning, everybody, and happy Valentine's Day. Excuse me, Vice Chair. Thank you. I call the February 14th, 2023 meeting of the DuPage County Board to order. I invite everyone to stand and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. Member Garcia, will you please lead the pledge? And I ask everyone to remain standing for the invocation. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Before I ask our invocator to lead us today, let me please take a moment to send out our support to the parents, students, and staff at Michigan State University. They suffered through what we all know is a terrible night of fear and violence. We wish them healing and health as they work through the aftermath of the shooting on campus. If we could have a moment of silence, please. Okay. At this time, it is my pleasure to welcome a good friend of the county, Reverend Andrew Love, back to offer our invocation. Many of you may remember that Andrew Love retired from the county after many years of distinguished service, most recently serving as a supervisor in the Adult Protective Service Unit. Thank you, Andrew, for coming back and leading us in the invocation today.
Thank you. Shall we pray? Most gracious Father, again we have come to invoke your presence, dear Father God, on this assembly. We're asking, dear Father God, that you would influence the minds and the hearts of those that are here in their governing responsibility. We pray, Lord, that you would touch their hearts and their minds, that they, Lord, would discuss and deal with matters, Lord, that we know are indeed needing your influence. And we pause too, likewise, Lord, to ask your comfort on those in Michigan, the loss of those and their families. We just ask that you would bless and keep us in times like this. This is our prayer. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Okay, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Member Cahill. Here. Member Chaplin.
Here.
Member Childress. Here. Member Covert. Member Dessart. Here. Member Eckhoff. Here. Member Evans.
Here.
Member Galassi.
Here.
Member Garcia.
Here.
Member Guston.
Here.
Member Krajewski. Member LaPlante.
Here.
Member Ozog.
Here.
Member Rutledge.
Here.
Member Schwarzy. Member Tornatori. Member Yu.
Here.
And Member Zay.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Today we are celebrating Black History Month with the Black History Month Proclamation. I'd like to invite Member Childress, Bernie Kleinen, Michelle Provoca, and Emily O'Brien to the podium. Okay. Our celebration of Black History Month in 2023 in this unique year as one of our own members has personally contributed to the celebration. Last year, member Michael Childress expressed an interest in sharing some of the memorabilia he collects to help educate the community about the history of African Americans in our nation. We connected him with the DuPage Historical Museum, and that, as they say in the movies, was the beginning of a beautiful relationship. This month, let's encourage everyone to visit the museum in February to view the Black Trailblazers exhibit. You will learn about the important contributions of African Americans in the areas of arts, education, sports, and civil rights and the civil rights movement. To mark Black History Month in DuPage County, I will read our annual Black History Month proclamation and ask Michelle and Emily, who are here from the museum, to tell us more. And then we will invite Michael to say a few words and introduce his guest, Bernie Kleinen. Okay. Whereas the month of February is celebrated as National Black History Month, recognizing the heritage and achievement of African Americans. And whereas this annual event gives residents a chance to recognize and commemorate the contributions African Americans have made and continue to make that are the integral part of our society. And whereas the event began as a week-long celebration in 1962, created by historian Carter G. Woodson and other prominent African Americans to raise awareness of African Americans' contributions to civilization. And whereas the celebration was expanded to the month in 1976 during the nation's bicentennial, and President Gerald Ford urged Americans to seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. And whereas we recognize Black History Month in 2023, we highlight the DuPage County Historical Museum's Black Trailblazers exhibit, co-curated by the DuPage County Board member Michael Childress, which celebrates those who created change by breaking down barriers. And whereas museum visitors will learn about African Americans who fought to shape the world in which they live in the areas of art, education, sports, and civil rights when they view the exhibit on display in the month of February. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Deborah A. Conroy, Chair of the DuPage County Board and member of the County Board, do hereby recognize February as National Black History Month and encourage all to visit the DuPage County Historical Museum to learn more about the many contributions of African Americans to our county, our state, and our nation. Do I have a motion? Okay. All in favor? Aye. The ayes have it. Okay. Enacted this 14th day of February 2023 in Wheaton, Illinois.
Thank you. It is an honor to accept this proclamation on behalf of DuPage County residents. Our mission at the museum is stewardship, education, and community engagement of DuPage County's rich history. That is why when Board Member Childress approached us with his collection and the idea of Black History Month exhibit, we told him it would fit perfectly with our Trailblazers project. Black Trailblazers features several Black Americans who fought to create change by challenging the status quo of their time, and forever shaped the fields of art, education, sports, and civil rights for the better. We are currently in discussions with Member Childress to continue this exhibit next year by adding more local ties and have some programming throughout the month. In the meantime, this year's Black Trailblazers will be up through February 28th, so please come visit.
Thank you so much. As I proudly received this Black History Proclamation, I want to introduce a true icon of the civil rights movement. Bernie Kleiner has seen a lot in more than 85 years of his life. Bernie has been taunted, hit with rocks, bottles, cherry bombs. He's been spat on and has been arrested as a civil rights marcher and photographer. Bernie's photography of the Chicago Freedom Movement documents the first color photos of Dr. Martin Luther King, which I think you all have now, and are exhibited in the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C. Bernie's photographs tell the story of the nation's struggle for equality, justice, and freedom, and capture some of the most violent missions Dr. Martin Luther King, as well as his efforts to focus on open housing and ending racial segregation and economic justice. Bernie has worked for equality in housing and housing-related issues for more than 40 years right here in DuPage County. His doggedness garnered him the distinction as the most hated man in DuPage County. Bernie has been a Wheaton resident for over 40 years and has served on both the national and local boards of directors that have worked to ensure equality and justice and is located directly across the street from here. Ladies and gentlemen, staff, board members, please rise as I present this proclamation to a man that nobody knows, Bernie Kleiner.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be here with you. It's an honor. I think someone just said we can accomplish almost everything if we work together, and that's what I've tried to do since 1965 when I went down to Selma, Alabama, where I was arrested for parading without a permit, but there were only 5 of us in that little parade, and I just didn't think of it as violating any law. But I feel so good about being here with you. I enjoy the work that I do. I still work. I'm 87, but I still work every day, and I mean every day of the week, because I have a lot of information and photographs about the Chicago Freedom Movement and other more current issues, and so it keeps me busy, and I love what I do, and I think I know that you love what you do, and that makes all of us very successful. Thank you so much for this award. Thank you.
Okay. Please allow me to take a moment to thank our hardworking information technology staff for all they have done to prepare for the technology upgrades we are making this week. The Tyler tax system, the migration to our new meeting agenda system, and the rollout of our new website have been months, sometimes years in the making. Thanks to all staff members involved for your diligence and dedication. This has been a campus-wide team approach, and we are grateful for the collaboration. Finally, please mark your calendars for February 28th. In order to complete your required ethics training, the county's ethics advisor, Dan Hanlon, and Investigator General Greg Vassy, bless you, will provide an in-person ethics training session following our next board meeting. Again, that's February 28th. For those who would like to prepare in advance, you can review the county's ethics ordinance on our website at dupagecounty.gov/ethics. That concludes my remarks, and at this time, I'm going to ask Member Sadia Colbert to speak, as she has asked if she could share some information with the board members about the devastating earthquake in Turkey.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. So over a week ago, there was the biggest earthquake in over a decade on the Turkey-Syria border. Our thoughts and prayers go out for the victims and families of the Turkey-Syria earthquake, many of which reside in DuPage County in their vibrant communities. The death toll, according to the United Nations, as reported in the Washington Post, tops 37,000 people as of 4 hours ago. I'd like to take a moment of silence. Even yesterday, over a week of search and rescue, 3 people were saved, 15-year-old, 12-year-old, and an 18-year-old. There were young babies that were saved as young as a year old. Even little puppies and dogs were found in the rubble alive. I want to thank the 50 countries or so, including our own, that came together to help with search and rescue efforts. My words will never describe the devastation, but please turn your attention to the screen. I wanted to view just some clips of the devastation and the impact.
Killing thousands.
It's actually the first minute and 15 seconds, so we got to
I'm
rewind.
Tammy Zaidan, live from North.
Thank you, Wendy. I want to thank staff, Jason Blumenthal, Gina Stafford, Ahmed, and Heidi Blakely in providing the names of the following organizations that are helping with the disaster relief. If anyone would like to help, you can contact the following organizations: World Relief, Helping Hands, affiliate of ICNA, Save the Children, the Turkish Embassy, Direct Relief, and AmeriCares. And you can contact me after this meeting if you'd like to help. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Member Covert. It's heartbreaking. And now we have to move on to public comment. But as Member Covert said, you know, if we all do a little bit of what we can make a little bit of a difference. So thank you for bringing that. Okay, on the matter of public comment, according to our county board rules, members of the public shall be afforded time to address the board. Individual remarks shall not exceed 3 minutes in length, nor shall the total time provided for all remarks exceed 30 minutes. Our first in-person speaker is Steve Fixler.
Here we go. All right, hello everybody. I think most of you know me. I'm Steve Fixler, but today I represent the DuPage Veterans Foundation. I put a flyer on each of yours on your desk and everything like that. We're bringing back the Honor Flight Chicago fundraiser, okay? It's going to be May 6th from 11 to 3 p.m. We're not at the airport. We're at the county, the fairgrounds, field house at the fairgrounds this time. That's where we're going to be. This year's, you know, we honor all veterans, World War II, Korean War, and everything like that, but this year we're doing a special honoring for the Vietnam-era veterans, and we are doing a pin ceremony and everything like that. One of our board members or committee members, Wayne Fisher, a Vietnam veteran himself, he's leading that charge and putting together the pinning ceremony and everything like that. We're going to have refreshments, live music. There's military uniforms going to be there, historical displays, and on the back does show ticket prices, how you can sponsor somebody, how you can buy a table. Yes, this is a fundraiser, so we do have prices and everything like that. But it is May 6, 2023, and I've got Elizabeth to my right here and Alberto. They're both on the committee helping us out and everything like that. Rich could not make it tonight. He had a major incident yesterday that he's working on. And so I'm just throwing this out, as I know there's technically no questions, but you all know where to find me. And I think, is it Liz that always asks me, am I sending this out electronically or not? But I will. If you guys want, I'll send that electronically to you too and everything. Otherwise, I thank you very much. Did I miss anything?
Janice Flutch. I apologize.
Morning. Let me begin by saying that I've always had a lot of respect for the police department. However, the tone in the country has changed. And it bothers me that so many good, honest officers are suffering because of what a few bad people are doing. As for the situation right here, I feel it's very simple. Sheriff Mendrick took an oath that requires him to uphold the laws, protect our citizens, and act with honesty and integrity. He was not given the right to pick and choose what laws he would or would not enforce. It's not an option. His personal and political views do not count on this. He must do his job or be replaced. Thank you.
Stephen Waldanga.
Ladies and gentlemen of the council and the board, thank you for letting me speak today. I have a personal note for the chaplain, but he stepped out. But I'll record it anyway. Last month we had examination of a new candidate for our church, and Sunday we had something more important than the Super Bowl. We had the actual ordination and confirmation of a new pastor. Now, back to the subject. History. We, 3 weeks ago, I was here, and there was quite a disturbance at the public announcements. I wish to present a historical aspect. And God spoke these words, saying, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourselves a carved image, or any likeness, or anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters under the earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquities of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me. Back in 1791, the second amendment to the Constitution was made about firearms and having individuals the right to bear and carry arms. Up until this past century, the country's been an agricultural country needing firearms for their own personal protection. The Act of 1792 declared that everyone who's physically able to be a part of the voluntary militia and have firearms and adequate ammunition. That act was repealed in 1902.
Sir, excuse me, you're at 3 minutes.
Pardon?
You just are at 3 minutes now.
2 minutes now? Thank you. That was repealed, and the president established the civilian marksmanship program requiring permitting practice of firearms. Up until 1960s, there have been no gun regulations. President Kennedy was shot, and the Bible was taken out of the schools. Now, this curse...
I'm sorry, our last Rules Committee, we agreed to strictly enforce the 3-minute rule. Thank you.
If you could just finish, thank you.
Thank you. Oops.
Linda Callis.
Thank you. Linda Killis from Downers Grove. I was here, I guess, 2 weeks ago. I want to do a little summary of some of Sheriff Medrick's comments about HB 5471, and then I have a final comment. So on January 13th, when he first made his press release, and I'm summarizing, he said that HB 5471 was a clear violation of the Second Amendment. That was his reasoning for not enforcing it. Then on January 23rd, after the Democratic representatives, both for Congress and State House, had a press conference, his comment was, "They're berating me for questioning their authority of a very poorly written piece of legislation that has no clear direction on who will be enforcing new gun laws. Nothing about Second Amendment, suddenly it's a confusing law." Then he made a comment like, "We have no gun shops in unincorporated DuPage County." Okay, fine, then you don't have to do that part of the law. Then on January 30th, after working with this body, there was a joint press release, and he said he's committed to enforcing all state and local laws because enforcement of this law, and it wasn't even mentioned, but meaning HB 5471, does not demand that deputies go door to door seeking to remove weapons from their for those licensed to own them. This is the excuse that he was using to say, okay, now I'm going to follow this law. He has come up with, I think I count 4 here, reasons for not first enforcing the law. This statement, although I appreciate the fact that he's saying that he's enforcing the law, is about as weak as you could get. He was very vocal about naming the law when he said it's unconstitutional and I'm not going to enforce it. But then when he decides to change his mind, the law isn't even mentioned. I shouldn't say that. Maybe it was mentioned, but I don't think it was. I think it just said all laws. And he had, it was a pretty minor comment. So what he need to have done is to say, and I think he still needs to do this, I will enforce HB 54, I'm always going to get this wrong, 71. And even if he thinks it's unconstitutional, which I don't even know if he believes that or not, because he gave all kinds of other excuses, he needs to say, I am not the one to decide if something is not constitutional. So my point is that I appreciate what this board did, but he has not really come out and said what he needed to say, that he is going to enforce this specific law, and he is not the judge to decide if something is constitutional or not. Thank you.
Evan Summers.
Good morning, everyone. It's a much less raucous room this time, so I was here 2 weeks ago, so I appreciate that. My name is Evan Summers. I'm the village manager for the Village of Bensonville. I'm here again before you today to plead the case against the proposed rezoning of 5 North 047 Route 83, which is before you today as item 10A. I want to thank the members of the county board that took time to meet and discuss this important issue with myself and Village President Dee Simone. The village's position, as well as the position of the Bensonville Park District, Bensonville School District 2, the City of Wooddale remains resolute. The parcel in question is zoned residential. It is surrounded by residential. The nearest commercial property is over a mile away. Why are we trying to rezone this property? If the county board were to rezone this property today, it would constitute a legal spot zone in the eyes of the courts, and the village would be forced to protect those rights under the law. The property is adjacent to an elementary school, a middle school, and a park. If the petitioner's plans were fully realized, a multi-story storage facility would be built next to these institutional uses. Children and families using these facilities would look out onto a storage facility rather than the residentially zoned lot it is today. The property was actually called out in the county's own land use plan, your land use plan, for a neighborhood to be built here that would capitalize on the institutional uses with walkways, pathways, and parks. The village fully supports that plan. It's a legal use of that property as it's zoned. I understand that petitioners have sunk costs in this investment that they hope to recuperate through the sale of the land to a commercial buyer. I'm sympathetic to that. The village is sympathetic to that. I'm sure you're all sympathetic to that. Unfortunately, however, bad business practices do not constitute a need to fundamentally upend established zoning law. The Village of Bensonville has tried to work with the property owners, even though they continue to state the contrary. For reasons that can only be deduced as financial, they continue to exclusively market this property as a commercial property, even though it's zoned residential. It's simply not a commercial site. In closing, I implore the county board to stand up for the residents of Northern DuPage and prevent this incompatible land use from being forced upon us. This is not what the people want. This is not what the taxing bodies want. I want to thank you for your time and consideration. Thank you.
Dennis McGabry.
Hello, yes, I'm Dennis McGabry, a resident of Addison, DuPage County, also a member of the 4th Avenue Gospel Church. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone here, the chair and the county members. Appreciate their interest in this matter regarding the zoning variance for 5 North 047 Route 83. We've received several responses, and we appreciate you taking the time out of your days to look into this matter. Just a few points I just want to re-emphasize on this property. The property was purchased only after we were assured by the Village of Bensonville that the property did not contain any wetlands and that they would welcome a church on that property. When this settlement from the village changed and it became clear that we wouldn't be able to build a church, we did market to single-family developers, and we received little interest and no verified offers. We've had this property on the market now for nearly 4 years. We've had a lot of interest, 3 actual offers, but when they speak to the village, everyone backs out. The current proposal is actually a very good fit. It doesn't interfere with the wetlands. It doesn't require village water or sewer. It generates very little traffic. Yes, there is the park around it, but it's not actually houses around it. And it's a low-impact, high-quality development that provides a needed service for the community. In closing, I'd just like to say that we're a congregation of families that live in the neighborhood there, and we support the neighborhoods. We're not developers seeking to make a profit. Appreciate you voting in favor of this variance as stated. Thank you.
Jax West.
Today is the 5-year anniversary of the Parkland shooting. Last night was yet another school shooting, this time at a Michigan university. I want to commend Chair Conroy for trying to work with everyone. I know she met with Sheriff Mendrick, and there was an agreement to put out a joint statement and end it there. Yet the sheriff continued to pander to his base. He once again isn't here to answer questions for his poor behavior, and I guess some board members only want to single out our clerk when she isn't here due to working or illness. Not the sheriff or state's attorney for having a deputy here. Thank you to the members who care more about the residents of DuPage County over the gun lobby. I will again remind the sheriff that he is to enforce the laws, not make them. He doesn't have to like them, but he does have to abide by them, as we all do. Thank you.
Clayton Keller.
Good morning. I just came in as a DuPage County hunter. First thing I'd like to say is that according to the DNR, which is Department of Natural Resources, there's no gun manufactured that cannot be used for hunting in the state of Illinois. That being said, there are a lot of people that do use Armalite rifles. They are not assault rifles, they are Armalite, which is the company that manufactures them. They are used in other states for hunting wild boar. They're used for hunting deer. Right here in Illinois, you can hunt raccoons, skunks, possums, coyotes, and other animals with them. The last thing I'm going to say is, if you're going to force the sheriff to enforce this law, are you also going to force him to enforce the law against marijuana sales in Illinois? Marijuana is illegal throughout the United States. Illinois is illegally selling it. So you kind of have to, you know, are we going to be nice people and let people be high and not shoot a gun? Or are we going to just enforce all laws? Thank you very much.
Louis Wieserman.
Thank you. It's Louis Weirsom. I'm a resident of DuPage. I live in West Chicago. I'm also a trustee on the 4th Avenue Gospel Building Corporation. This is the seller in the matter of Bourbon La Patina, the storage facility on Route 83. Thank you, Chair and board members, for your work. Appreciate it. Realize it's a difficult decision to make in our case. We sent a letter, as you're all aware, to try and outline the details and provide some clarity to the details over the course of the last 10 years with our property. Our lawyer also sent a letter to try and clarify some questions. I was personally on a Zoom call with the Village of Bensonville that we initiated. We asked them, because we were having an issue selling the property, first developing it as a church property and later selling it. We called a meeting with Bensonville, and it was May of 2020, which Mr. Summers was on that call, and he specifically told me he felt the commercial development would be a good fit for this property. He said that he realized it may not fit exactly with his economic development board, but he felt a small commercial property or a small industrial property was a good fit for our location. So I appreciate, if you've read our letter, everything in there is a true statement. We've gone over to make sure everything was factual, and I appreciate your work again, and would appreciate a positive vote in this situation. Thank you much.
Iona Fernandez.
Good morning. My name is Iona Fernandez, and I live in DuPage County with my husband and our 2 boys. I am here to talk again about gun violence. There have been 67 mass shootings in the U.S. since the beginning of the year, the most recent one last night in Michigan. Today is also the 5-year anniversary of the Portland shooting. We can no longer accept that guns are more important than lives. Thank you, Chairwoman Conroy, for the statement you released 2 weeks ago after having conversations with the state's attorney and Sheriff Mandrick regarding the enforcement of the Protect Illinois Communities Act. It is important that action is being taken at all levels of government to reduce gun violence. I understand that the county board does not have legislative powers, but I believe that we can all work together to make our community safer for everyone. We can work to educate our communities about how responsible gun ownership looks like, how we can respect each other's points of view, even if we do not always align, how we can all work together to keep our kids alive and free of trauma. I appreciate your commitment to keep our community safe and will continue to support legislative and educational efforts that will benefit all of us. It takes all of us to end gun violence. Thank you for all your work.
Kathy Sedan.
Hi, my name is Kathy Saman. I did not want to speak, but now that I'm given the opportunity, I am for the ban. And I talk in the perspective of family members who are in law enforcement. I want them to be able to come home at night and not have to face these assault weapons on the street. My niece's husband is on a SWAT team in Chicago. He faces these almost on a weekly basis. My friends work for the federal government, Homeland Security. I want them to also come home safe. So please, I want our students to come home safe. So I thank you for taking this action. And that's all I really wanted to say. Thank you.
Curtis Pasque.
Hello, Curtis Posgate, Director of Community and Economic Development, Village of Bensonville, here on the Berman-Lapatina case. First off, as a graduate of Michigan State University, I really appreciate the support. It's been an odd, few hours here and still kind of coming to terms with everything, so it's really nice to hear from everybody. Thank you. I do got to counter a statement that was just made about Manager Summers saying he wants commercial on this property. I find that really hard to believe. In 2020, we were going through the Route 83 corridor plan with the county. You see the results of the corridor plan. It was a residential development that was proposed there in that corridor plan. So that seems highly unlikely that we would say we wanted commercial. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's not fruitful. It doesn't come through in the corridor plan, the study that was produced for the county. So my planner attended the ZBA meeting where he was allowed only 3 minutes of testimony. So after we submitted a 22-page response letter within the allotted time, only 2 pages of that response letter made it back to the ZBA or into the development committee's meeting packet. So only 2 pages of our 22-page response letter. So after meeting with the Assistant State's Attorney and staff, the full document was included in your board packet. ZBA and Development Committee did not have complete information. So for those on the Development Committee worried that they voted yes, and worried about changing your vote, we hope that after you reconsider, now that you have a more complete picture of what's being proposed on this project. We in Bensonville understand wanting to promote development. Talk to Greg at Choose DuPage. Bensonville developed more industrial square footage than any DuPage County community last year. We are pro-development, but this site is not meant for commercial use. It's a residential site. We are for a residential development here, and they have never come forward with a residential development, a serious residential development. We are respectfully asking you to vote no on the Berman-Lapatina case before you today. Thank you.
Joe Sheehan.
Hello, my name is Joe Sheen of Cary Farms. I have previously brought a zoning case that has since been denied. I request a motion to reconsider so that my zoning application can be brought back to the Development Committee for further review. As part of the future development of my property, I hope to bring forth a housing development. I understand that this is an important issue to the board, and this is something that I can not only accomplish, but I have openly discussed with partners and the county for months. The housing development would be called Celtic Winds and would incorporate both solar and wind into the development to help offset the soaring cost of energy. I'm happy to pledge right now that this housing will be affordable. If you will work with me in my efforts to keep my family farm and develop my commercial frontage, I will work with West Chicago to bring water and sewer across my property. The county building department will confirm that the adjacent 20-acre landowner has come to the county personally, and he said he supports everything that I am trying to accomplish. I'm happy to help bring affordable housing to DuPage. Pulte Homes was due to make $8 million profit on Trillion Farms. After COVID, this profit was increased to $12.8 million on a development that was $34 million. That's quite a profit. They have Matchstick Ranch homes listed at $600K. That's not affordable, that is profiteering. I plan to reinvest in the community and will work with the building department to unlock this housing opportunity rather than lock it up for years to come. Thank you.
Michael Roth.
Good morning. Michael Roth. I'm here to speak on the 5 North 047 Route 83 property and the development. I'm not going to go over the statements made by Mr. Summers. I've already addressed them in my letter to you, and so I hope that you've had a chance to read it. All of the professionals, the county staff, the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Development Committee, have strongly supported this project as compliant with the county codes and the county's development standards. The final steps to any wetlands and stormwater issues are to be taken at the time of the development of the property. Who would want to build their house on Route 83? And what developer would want to invest millions of dollars to build a few houses at this location? As you probably know, it's no secret, the Bensonville Park District has wanted to acquire this property for the last several years. And they want to buy this property on the cheap. And so they've partnered with the Village of Bensonville to basically make this property unmarketable. And now they hope to use this county board as their tool to finish the job.
Okay, that's the end of in-person comments. Evan Shields will read 3 minutes, and that will get us to our 30 minutes of internet comments.
Good morning, board members. First comment today is from Joe Cosentino. Subject is village board members. The comment reads, "I will read them at the meeting." That is the end of that comment. Next comment is from Megan Sheridan. The subject is ARPA food. Comment reads, $5 million was allocated to helping DuPage pantries with food in this time of need. There is $1.75 million for produce. Another $1 million was allocated for pantry food and equipment. There is still $2.25 remaining that has not been finalized. I would like to provide input to the team that is working on the final $2.25 million. There is a pantry in DuPage that can't get a contract with the food bank because the food bank doesn't have the capacity to take them on. This pantry is serving 180 families a week, which would have made them eligible for $50,000 of the $1 million, but they would not offer the grant because they don't have a contract with the food bank. Please have someone call me at 630-254-2173. Thanks, Megan Sheridan, pantry board member / volunteer. That is the end of that comment. Next comment is from Dina Riddle. Subject is Sheriff Mendrick. Comment reads, Sheriff Mendrick is upholding our Second Amendment right. He is doing his job for we the people who elected him. No way should he be in any trouble at all. He's keeping our constitutional rights. He signed an oath to keep our constitutional rights. That's why we elect him our sheriffs. Stop what you're trying to do, Deep State. We the people will keep fighting. This is our right. It's our God-given right to protect ourselves and our families any way we want. It's not up to you. That is the end of that comment.
Thank you, Evan. That gets us to our 30 minutes. Please know that all of the electronic comments will become part of the permanent record. Okay, and on to consent items. I seek a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Okay. A, DuPage County Board Minutes, regular meeting, Tuesday, January 24th, 2023. B, DuPage County Health Department minutes, County Board orientation, Tuesday, January 24th, 2023. C, payments of claims, 1/20/2023 pay list. D, payment of claims, 1/20/2023 auto debit pay list. E, payment of claims, 1/24/2023 pay list. F, payment of claims, 1/27/2023 pay list. G, payment of claims, 1/31/2023 pay list. H, payment of claims, 2/3/2023 pay list. I, payment of claims, 2/7/2023 pay list. J, change order to various contracts as specified in the attached packet. K, 2/3/2023 Corbel wire transfer. L, 2/6/2023 IDOR wire transfer. All in favor? Okay, motion carries. And now we will move on to County Board and Member Childress, who is missing. Okay. Okay, then we will do that. Then let's move on to Finance and Member Liz Chaplin.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Happy Valentine's Day. By way of committee report, we have two items under Finance that we're going to be pulling today. We're going to be pulling item 9K and 911. 9K is, we're pulling at the request of the Conventioners Visitors Bureau, and we'll be bringing that back at another future date. And 9L, this item is being pulled today. The Health Department leadership and the county leadership plan to work together to broaden the vision for the HOPE Task Force. And once that framework is reviewed and refined, we'll bring this item back for approval. And also, we had a very long Finance Committee meeting. That's the delay for today's meeting. But we did a lot of good work in Finance, including allocating some of our revenue surplus. The remaining surplus, a lot of it is going to go to capital improvements, which is really, like I said, it's going to be remarkable because we're going to be able to do these improvements without having to issue bonds or increase taxes. So really great for the county. And I'm also pleased to announce that we allocated $2.5 million for our affordable housing initiative, which I know you're going to be working on and helping us put that together. So some really good things coming out of the Finance Committee earlier this morning. And with that, I will move to approve FICO 000323, recommendation for the approval of an amendment to purchase order 54880001 serve for a contract issued to Hart InterCivic for a voting equipment system for the DuPage County Clerk Election Division to increase the contract amount by $5,060, resulting in an amended contract of $7,467,641.27.
It has been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Member Chaplin.
Aye.
Member Childress. Member Covert. Member Desart. Member Eckhoff. Member Evans.
Aye.
Member Galassi. Member Garcia. Member Guston. Member Krajewski. Member LaPlante. Member Ozog. Member Rutledge. Member Schwarzy. Member Tornatori. Member Yu. Member Zay. And Member Cahill.
Great. I move approval of FICO 000423, recommendation for the approval of an amendment to purchase order 566100001 serve for a contract issued to Prager Moving and Storage for the transportation of voting equipment for the DuPage County Clerk Election Division to increase the contract in the amount of $35,495, resulting in amended contract total not to exceed $171,495.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I move approval of FIC 000523, recommendation for the approval of an amendment to purchase order 41560001 serve for a contract issued to NoWink LLC for an election poll book software system for the DuPage County Clerk Election Division to increase the contract in the amount of $13,500, resulting in amended contract total amount not to exceed $2,057,500.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I move approval of FIR 005723, acceptance and appropriation of the Illinois Department of Human Services Emergency Solutions Grant CARES Act in the amount of $383,397.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I move approval of FIR 006523, acceptance of the extension of time for the ILD-CEO Community Services Block Grant Payment Year 2022 Intergovernmental Agreement, Community Services.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I move approval of FIR 006723, acceptance and appropriation of the Help America Vote Act Polling Place Accessibility Grant in the amount of $585,584.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I move approval of FIR 005523, authorization to transfer $60,248 in the budget to the Circuit Court for the fiscal 2023 year.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I move approval of FIR 006423, acceptance and appropriation of the DuPage Housing Authority Family Self-Sufficiency Program Grant in the amount of $121,726.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I move approval of FIR 005923, additional appropriation for the Neutral Site Custody Exchange Fund, $2,356.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I move approval of FIR 005823, acceptance and appropriation of the National Children's Alliance Equipment and Technology Grant in the amount of $28,998.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you, and we're pulling items K and L. I'll move on FIR 007023, annual financial commitments to in support of the Illinois State Associations of Counties, $28,820.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I move approval of FIR 007123, annual financial commitments in support of the National Association of Counties in the amount of $18,338.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I move approval of FIR 007223, annual financial commitments in the support of the University of Illinois Cooperative Extension Program in the amount of $30,000.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I move approval of FIR 006623, budget transfers 2/14/2023, various companies and accounting units.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I move approval of FIR 007323, additional appropriation for the ARPA fund for ICNA relief in the amount of $128,000.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I move approval of FIR 007423, additional appropriation for the ARPA fund for Poise for Success in the amount of $45,000.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I move approval of FIR 007523, approval of a grant between the County of DuPage and Poise for Success in the amount of $45,000.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I move approval of FIR 007623, approval of a grant agreement between the County of DuPage and ICNA Relief for the use of ARPA funds in the amount of $128,000.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I move approval of FIP 000123, recommendation for the approval of a contract to DFM Associates for voter registration election information management system software for the County Clerk Election Division in the amount of not to exceed $156,072.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I move approval of 230767, Supervisor of Assessments to complete courses, Supervisor of Assessments Orientation and Abstract Workshop in Springfield, Illinois from March 1st, 2023 to March 2nd, 2023. The Illinois Department of Revenue requires all supervisors to complete these courses in the amount of $750.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you, and I move approval on 230763, FIR 0951C18, amendment of the contract between the county and the International Union of Operating Engineers Local 150 for maintenance equipment and vehicle maintenance groups covering the time period of 12/1/17 through 11/30/2024.
Leave is granted. Thank you, Member Chaplin.
Thank you.
Okay, we will go back to Member Childress. Okay, where am I here?
Thank you, Chair Conroy. Today, I rise to present two appointments to on your behalf. I start to move on item 8A, the reappointment of Harvey R. Mull to the Wheaton Mosquito Abatement District.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Member Childress.
Yes.
Member Covert. Member Desart. Member Eckhoff. Member Evans.
Aye.
Member Galassi. Member Garcia. Member Guston. Member Krajewski. Member LaPlante. Member Ozog. Member Rutledge. Member Schwarzy. Member Tornatori. Member Yu. Member Zay. Member Cahill. And Member Chaplin.
Aye.
Member Chaplin and Member Childress.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on my item 8B, the appointment of Michael L. Childress to the DuPage County Historical Museum Foundation.
Oh, okay.
I'll second.
All right, leave is granted. Thank you, Member Childress. Okay, and we are going to move on to development and Member Tonator.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move on DC 00008-23, zoning 22-000056, Berman Lapentina Enterprises LLC, the approval of zoning relief, 1, to rezone from R4 to B1 to allow a climate-controlled self-storage facility, 2, a conditional use for a climate-controlled self-storage facility, 3, a variation to increase the floor area ratio from 0.25 to 0.55, 4, a variation to reduce the front yard setback from 40 feet to approximately 20 feet to allow parking in the front setback at the proposed 10 parking spaces, 5, a variation to reduce the south interior side setback from 40 feet to approximately 37 feet 6 inches, 6, a variance to reduce the front yard landscaping setback from 20 feet to 10 feet along the 10 parking places. This, as you may recall from 2 weeks ago, will require a 3/4 vote or 14 votes to approve based on a resolution of a written protest by the Village of Bensenville.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
I think we might have
discussion.
some discussion on
Okay,
this.
okay, all right. I believe Member Cahill was first.
Yes, I have really been struggling with this issue, and I have, met with both sides of the debate here and discussed and sat down and talked to them and read everything. But central to me is that this residentially zoned property is next to an elementary school, a middle school, and a park. And commercial zoning, I believe, would be detrimental to the children and families in this neighborhood. And I know we heard Mr. Roth speak about the professionals are very much supporting this, but the people, the elected officials, the village president of Bensenville, the mayor of Wooddale, the park district, the people are not supportive of changing the residential zoning to commercial. So that is my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, Member Rutledge.
Thank you, Chair. So based on the public comments that we heard this morning, that this piece of property has been on the market for 4 years in one of the hottest real estate markets for residential that we've seen in ever. The fact that this is on Route 83 is for sure a detriment to the sale of this property for a residential area. I have a problem with saddling this owner with that designation for this particular property when it's clear that nobody is buying this property for a residential development. So I will be supporting this resolution.
Member Zay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know we received a lot of information. I just wanted to, I know a lot of it was towards stormwater. I just wanted to go over some of the issues that was brought up by Fourth Avenue Gospel. And obviously, this is not the first time we have heard from these people. Over the last many years, I've had several meetings with them on this property. I want everybody to know we're treating them no different than any other development in the county. Doesn't matter if they're a church or not. The stormwater ordinance is clear. They put in their letter to us, despite determinations by two engineering firms retained, the wetlands were not critical. That's not true. Adjacent property, contiguous to this property, had wetlands that had previously been classified as critical. Once you have an engineering firm come in years later after you've already cut down everything, it's hard to tell what it was because they've disturbed the wetland, and then at that point, that wetland is gone. And again, any development in DuPage County, per our ordinance, 15.88 requires unauthorized wetland impact to be treated then as critical. So even though they say it wasn't critical, years later, it's deemed with that. It says the church, with cleanup work and time passed since 2015, the wetland area is now basically restored. That's not true. High-quality vegetation not present, and they continue to mow portions of the wetland and buffer, although being informed on numerous occasions to stop from our staff. They also said they went, both engineering firm, they got a variance. They asked for a variance from the committee. Requires unauthorized impacts to be treated as critical wetland. That variance was denied by the Stormwater Committee. They wanted it to be done as regulatory and mitigate at 1.5 to 1. That was denied. We deemed it as critical. It had to be done at 3 to 1 per our ordinance. Also, they had requested numerous times to the county, part of their variance was to require a plan for the wetland mitigation, with or without a development plan, independent of Bensonville property, since it's still unincorporated. They never gave us a wetland mitigation plan. So again, I know they can say a lot, but we're treating this like any other development. Once you disturb those wetlands, you have to go back in and restore them, and they haven't done that. My issue with this also is, you know, the last 2 meetings we've had, very rarely do we get official protests from a municipality. And now we've got one from West Chicago on one, and now we've gotten one from Bensonville on the other. That means that municipality is very strong in how they stand on that, and I know we always want to try to work our municipalities. It's not my district, it's District 1, but I've talked to the District 1 people on this, and the majority of the district's not in favor of that, and for that, I will not be voting for this. Thank you.
Okay. Member Krajewski?
I know that we had stormwater issues raised before in the discussions at development, and I did read some information that was sent to me, went back to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I did talk to Sarah Hunt, but there was a letter that Bensonville gave to the village, or the church, telling them in 2014 there was no wetlands there, and then they wound up disturbing those wetlands, and I did confirm that with Sarah, that yes, that was the cause of it. The village of Bensonville told them there wasn't any wetlands there. I know they've been trying to restore it, and they'll have to do that here, but irregardless, you know, we've had people that say we should support it, people say we should oppose it, village officials opposing it, but that's not what we look at. We have to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and case law is pretty set. They call them the LaSalle factors, and those are the things that we have to look at. We don't look at whether elected officials don't want it, neighbors don't want it, neighbors do want it. Those aren't the factors we look at. And the Zoning Board of Appeals, who's been doing this for a while, they approved it 7-0 based on, you know, the testimony at the Zoning Board. It met all the LaSalle factors, and then they recommended for development, and it was 5-1 at development. But again, those are what we need to look at as a board, is what those are, not people want it, people don't want it. Those aren't factors. Thank you.
Okay. Before we come back, go ahead, Sheila.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Member Zay. So what happens to the wetland if this purchase goes through? What is the responsibility of the new owners?
I would think we'd have to restore it 3 to 1 at that point.
Okay. Member Ozog?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I served 6 years on the Glen Ellen Zoning Board and 4 years on our development, and the key words that we have to use are hardship and practical difficulty. And I think the 10-year odyssey of this property, especially the property being on the market for 4 years with no residential developer coming forward, certainly proves hardship and practical difficulty. So I will be voting in favor of this today. Thank you.
Member Dessert.
Thank you. I too have been struggling with this issue. I'm feeling that the entity, the church, has really done everything asked of it over the years, going back several years. But now I'm hearing from members A about the stormwater issues that that some of the information in the letter has been is not true in the letter that they sent. So I wanted to hear from the Chair of Development your thought process on the property.
I'll be happy to. I'd like to reserve that for close, if you don't mind, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any further comments? Okay. Member
I'm on?
Tontor.
Okay. All right. First, thank you to the staff of the county and to the development committee who have been struggling with this. I know there's been a lot of lobbying, if you will, on both sides. For all of us, we've received a number of emails and letters. A couple of things I find interesting. Most of what we've heard in support of this project has come from the Fourth Avenue Gospel Church, but the petitioner in this matter is not the Fourth Avenue Gospel Church, it's the self-storage facility. There's an obvious reason for that, because it's more difficult to say no to a church than it is to say no to a self-storage facility. So I get that. This is not merely a variance, as has been indicated in public comment. It's a rezoning. It's a rezoning from residential to business. As has been stated, we have objections from 2 municipalities, Park District, School District. We have stormwater issues that have been raised. We have the chairman of the Stormwater Committee telling us that statements made in the letter that we all received, I have received them personally as well as via email, that there are some misstatements in those. To some of the new members here, I know you've been requesting advice on what may happen on a vote one way or the other. My suggestion as a relatively long-term member of this board is that if you've got a legal question about what your vote may entail, ask the state's attorney. Don't ask me, don't ask a member of staff, another county board member, or your neighbor. The state's attorneys are the ones that can give you the proper answers. It's not our duty to maximize the value of somebody's property. If that were the case, we would have done something different in many cases before this board from time to time. The fact that property can or can't be sold is as much a reason why somebody bought it at the price they bought it, and maybe they can't sell it at the price they want to sell it for. But it's not our duty to try to maximize somebody's profit. And on a personal note, any suggestion that we don't take into consideration what neighbors think, what the municipalities think, and we can only look at certain factors is, quite frankly, not anything we've ever done in the past. We always take into consideration what neighbors, municipalities, and others believe in. So we have to take that into consideration. I've read a number of letters and emails telling me to look at the ethics ordinance and to vote with a clear conscience. I'm going to be voting no, and I can assure everyone that I'm voting it with a clear conscience, and I don't feel like I'm doing anything unethical. And I also don't think that this board, me or anybody else, is a tool of anybody. So quite honestly, that's a little insulting when those comments are made to us who try to take a look at these things from a factual basis, who have no skin in the game, but are trying to do what's right. So to those who would like us to support this, I simply would tell them we're here to do what we think is right for the county, not for a particular property owner. And for those reasons and all the reasons that have been mentioned before, I'm going to be voting no. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, clerk, please take the roll.
And again, this will require 14 yes votes to pass.
Member Tornatori,
No.
Member Yu,
Yes.
Member Zay. No. Member Cahill. No. Member Chaplin.
Aye.
Member Childress. Member Covert. Member Desart. No. Member Eckhoff. Aye. Member Evans.
Aye.
Member Galassi.
No.
Member Garcia. Member Guston. Member Krajewski. Member LaPlante. Member Ozog. Member Rutledge. Member Schwarzy. Member Covert.
Okay.
Eight voting nay, 9 aye.
Motion fails.
9 aye, 8 nay.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, it was 9, 8?
9 aye, 8 nay.
9, okay.
The motion fails. Member Tonator.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move approval of DCO 10-23 zoning 2260, Kirchhoffer approving a conditional use to allow an existing detached accessory building, 3 barns, have been on the property for at least 5 years.
Okay, leave is granted. Member Tonator. Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call, please.
Member Tornatori.
Aye.
Member Yu. Member Zay. Member Cahill. Member Chaplin.
Aye.
Member Childress. Member Covert. Member Desart. Member Eckhoff. Member Evans.
Aye.
Member Galassi. Member Garcia. Member Guston. Member Krajewski. Member LaPlante. Member Ozog. Member Rutledge. And Member Schwarzy.
Okay. Member Tonator.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move approval of DCO 11-23, zoning 2264. The zoning hearing officer's recommendation to approve a conditional use to increase the cumulative area for detached accessory building from the permitted 708 square feet to approximately 1,200 square feet.
We had a member come back, so clerk, please take the roll.
Member Tornatori.
Aye.
Member Yu. Member Zay. Member Cahill. Member Chaplin.
Aye.
Member Childress. Member Covert. Member Desart. Member Eckhoff. Member Evans.
Aye.
Member Galassi. Member Garcia. Member Guston. Member Krajewski. Member LaPlante. Member Ozog. Member Rutledge. And Member Schwarzy.
Okay, Member Tonator.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Finally, I move approval of DCO 12-23, zoning 2267, Naperville Township zoning hearing officer's recommendation to approve a variation to reduce the east interior side setback from 20 feet to approximately 5 feet.
Leave is granted.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Member Tonator. And on to environmental and Member Rutledge.
I ask for a motion on ENR 0014-23, the DuPage County
Second.
Electronic Recycling Program 2023, Notice of Participation.
Okay, I need a motion for the second.
Member Rutledge, do you want to move on that? Because you asked for a motion, but do you want to move?
Thank you, yes, thank you,
So move, I'll second.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, roll call, please.
Member Rutledge.
Aye.
Member Schwarzy. Member Tornatori. Member Yu. Member Zay. Member Cahill. Member Chaplin.
Aye.
Member Childress. Member Covert. Member Desart. Member Eckhoff. Member Evans.
Aye.
Member Galassi. Member Garcia. Member Guston. Member Krajewski. Member LaPlante. And Member Ozog.
Okay, Member
Thank you.
Rutledge.
I'll make a motion on ENP 004923, the recommendation for the approval of a contract with Aptum Environmental and Infrastructure LLC for consulting services for the continued study of a viability of providing waste and recycling services to unincorporated areas of DuPage County for the period of February 14, 23 through November 30th, 23 for a total contract amount not to exceed $50,000.
Leave is granted. Thank you, Member Rutledge. And on to Human Services and Member Schwarzy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. By way of committee update, I wanted to mention to this group that you would have received an email this past week from the Director of Community Services, Mary Keating, with an update on the $10.6 million that this committee used ARPA funds for the transformational grants that we voted on back in the fall of 2021. You'll see that there have been 2 rounds of grants already distributed. Initially, grant 1 was a immediate need grants, and we gave out about $1.1 million on that. And then the transformational grants, which are 2-year grants, about $3.9 million. I will be giving an update on that later this year, a little more thorough, when we get some of the results back on how those grants have performed for our residents in our community. So a little bit rough information there. Round 3, just so you know, round 3 will be an immediate grant again, being kicked off in a few months, and that'll be the only grants that'll be handed out this year from that grant, and then more transformational grants will be coming out in 2024. So again, more information coming on that. I will say this, with the round 1 and round 2 grants that were awarded by the DuPage Foundation, we did not actually have a county board member on that selection committee. That is going to change for these round 3 and round 4 grants. The Vice Chair of Human Services, Member Garcia, and myself are going to be on that committee. So I think there was a little bit lost, a little disconnect in the fact between the foundation and this board, and I think it was because we didn't have anybody actually working with them as far as doing the selection. So we will be part of that. You guys will be we'll quickly update you on that sort of information as we move forward. The only other thing I want to point out is item 12C today includes a travel request for someone from Community Services. That person is already back from that grant, but the reason we're getting it late to this committee, it was approved at our parent committee last meeting before they left, but the staff member didn't think they would be able to attend this at our last board meeting. Turns out their plans changed. They were able to attend, so we quickly approved it at our parent committee, and you'll be voting on that today. So I move to approve item HSR 4023-2023 Annual Action Plan, DuPage County Consortium, second reading. Recommendation for approval of the 2023 Annual Action Plan element of the 2020 through 2024 Consolidated Plan for Community Development Block Grant, Home Investment Partnership, and Emergency Solutions Grant programs to qualify and to receive the Department of Housing and Urban Development grant funds of approximately $6 million.
It has been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Member Schwarzy.
Aye.
Member Tornatore. Member Yu. Member Zay. Member Cahill. Member Chaplin.
Aye.
Member Childress. Member Covert. Member Desart. Member Eckhoff. Member Evans.
Aye.
Member Galassi. Member Garcia. Member Guston. Member Krajewski. Member LaPlante. Member Ozog. And Member Rutledge.
Member Schwarzy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on item 230652, Community Services Administrator to attend the National Alliance of Information and Referral 2023 Training Conference in Orlando, Florida from July 29, 2023 through August 2nd,
Second most
2023.
favorable roll.
Expenses to include registration, transportation, lodging, miscellaneous expenses, and per diems for approximate total of $2,140.
Leave is granted. Member Schwarzy.
And I move on item 230768, a travel request, Community Development Manager to attend the legislative conferences and committee meetings of the National Association for County, Community, and Economic Development and National Association of Counties in Washington DC from February 9th, 2023 through February 12th, 2023. Expenses to include transportation, lodging, miscellaneous expenses, and per diems for approximate total of $1,976.50.
Leave is granted. Thank you, Member Schwarzy. Okay, Judicial and Public Safety, Member Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today, I would like to move for approval of JPSR 004923, acceptance of the Illinois Emergency Management Agency Emergency Management Performance Grant in the amount of $201,745.82.
It has been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Member Evans.
Aye.
Member Galassi. Member Garcia. Member Guston. Member Krajewski. Member LaPlante. Member Ozog. Member Rutledge. Member Schwarzy. Member Tornatori. Member Yu. Member Zay. Member Cahill. Member Chaplin.
Aye.
Member Childress. Member Covert. Member Desart. And Member Eckhoff.
Okay, Member Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would also like to move to approve JPSR 005623, revision to personnel budget for the 18th Judicial Circuit Court.
Leave is granted. Thank you, Member Evans. And now to Legislative and Member Desart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Regarding legislative update, during our legislative committee meeting today, we will be voting to adopt the county's federal legislative agenda. So I hope all of our members will attend. A couple of weeks ago, we adopted our state legislative agenda, and I have been assured that our lobbyists are now hard at work in Springfield, getting all of our priorities out to the Springfield legislators. Moving forward, the March 14th Legislative Committee meeting, we are inviting Joe McCoy from ISACO to join us to discuss the state's priorities and also what specifically ISACO does and what they're focusing on during the upcoming session. And today we're approving the annual membership fees. We already did this. We approved the annual membership fees for the Illinois State Association of Counties, ISACO, and the National Association of Counties, NACO. So I appreciate your support on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Desart, and I encourage new members to learn about ISACO and NACO. Now we are into Public Works and Member Garcia.
Thank you, Chair Conroy. Real quickly for a committee update, I just wanted to thank you, the snowplow drivers. I know it's hard to believe that there actually was snow on the ground a few weeks ago, for keeping our streets clean. So I appreciate that and all the good work the staff does. Right now, I'm looking for a motion to approve PWP 005723, recommendation for the approval of an agreement between the County of DuPage, Illinois, and Donahue and Associates for an on-call professional engineering services for supervisory control and data acquisitions, support for various DuPage County Public Works and stormwater facilities for the period of February 14, 2023 through December 31st, 2025, for the total contract not to amount $95,000.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Member Garcia.
Aye.
Member Guston. Member Krajewski. Member LaPlante. Member Ozog. Member Rutledge. Member Schwarzy. Member Tornatori. Member Yu. Member Zay. Member Cahill. Member Chaplin.
Aye.
Member Childress. Member Covert. Member Desart. Member Eckhoff. Member Evans.
Aye.
And Member Galassi.
Okay, Member Garcia.
I move for a motion to approve PWP 005823, recommendation for the approval of an agreement between the County of DuPage, Illinois, and Baxter & Woodman Consulting Engineers for on-call professional engineering services for permit review and to review and update the water and wastewater treatment ordinance for public works for the period of February 14, 2023 to November 30th, 2025, for a total contract amount not to exceed $95,000.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
Move for approval to PWP 005923, recommendation for the approval of an agreement between the County of DuPage, Illinois, and Trotter and Associates, Inc. for on-call professional engineering services for DuPage County-owned water treatment and wastewater treatment facilities and systems for public works for the period of February 14th, 2023 to November 30th, 2025, for a total contract amount not to exceed $700,000.
Okay, leave is granted. Member Garcia.
Move for approval to FMP 006023, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Royal Pipe and Plumbing Supply Company to furnish and deliver plumbing supplies by the specified manufacturers at discounted rates as needed for county facilities for the period of February 24th, 2023 through February 23rd, 2024, for total contract amount not to exceed $148,007.50.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
Looking to approve FMP 005623, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Red Wing Brands of America, Inc. to furnish safety shoes and work boots as needed for facilities management, public works, stormwater, and care center for the period February 23, 2023 through February 22nd, 2024, for a contract total not to exceed $37,900 for facilities, $10,000 for public works, $20,000 for stormwater, and $4,500 for care center. I think I got those right.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
And finally, looking for a motion to approve FMR 006023, authorization to submit a grant application to the Community Development Block Grant COVID-19 Response Funding for the DuPage Care Center for the Air Handling Units Replacement Project in the amount of $1,900,000. I move to approve. Sorry. Move to approve that last FMR 060023. All right.
Thank you. Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
Thank you.
Okay, and on to stormwater and Member Zay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move approval of SM 823 AMS change order number 2, East Quarry, East Lobe pipe replacement, amendment to a contract amount of $84,413.46.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Member Zay.
Aye.
Member Cahill. Member Chaplin.
Aye.
Member Childress. Member Covert. Member Desart. Member Eckhoff. Member Evans.
Aye.
Member Galassi. Member Garcia. Member Guston. Member Krajewski. Member LaPlante. Member Ozog. Member Rutledge. Member Schwarzy. Member Tornatori. And Member Yu.
Okay, Member Zay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on SMR 61-23, additional appropriation for the 2011 drainage capital projects, the amount of $36,665.
Leave is granted. Member Zay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on SMP 5423, enter an agreement with DuPage County and Engineering Resources for professional engineering services, the amount of $70,000.
Leave is granted. Member Zay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on SMP 5523, recommendation to enter an agreement between DuPage County and Gasper Elgerts for consulting, on-call professional engineering services, the amount of $70,000.
Leave is granted. Member Zay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, and now to technology and Member Yu.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For my Technology Committee update, I just want to again commend the efforts of our information technology team for the developments that have been happening with regard to technology, particularly our new website, which will be rolled out as a soft launch tomorrow. This new website is user-friendly and accessible. I'm very, very excited about it. So again, thank you, Technology Department. So I move now on TEP 005023, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Acela Inc. for managed application services for the building and zoning, transportation, stormwater, and public works departments to provide support with permitting software that will allow online submittals, electronic document reviews, permit tracking, and mobile inspections by applicants and/or county staff. This contract covers the period of 1 year for a contract total not to exceed $195,000.
It has been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Member Yu.
Aye.
Member Zay. Member Cahill. Member Chaplin. Member Childress. Member Covert. Member Desart. Member Eckhoff. Member Evans.
Aye.
Member Galassi. Member Garcia. Member Guston. Member Krajewski. Member LaPlante. Member Ozog. Member Rutledge. Member Schwarzy. And Member Tornatori.
Okay, Member Yu.
Thank you. I now move on TEP 004923, the recommendation for the approval of contract purchase order to BMC Software Inc. for an annual BMC software licensing and maintenance for Mainview Z Enterprise Automation and VSAM file management software for information technology. This contract covers a period of 1 year for a contract total of $42,256.33.
I'm going to need a Okay, clerk, please take the roll.
Member Yu.
Aye.
Member Zay. Member Cahill. Member Chaplin.
Aye.
Member Childress. Member Covert. Member Desart. Member Eckhoff. Member Evans.
Aye.
Member Galassi. Member Garcia. Member Guston. Member Krajewski. Member LaPlante. Member Ozog. Member Rutledge. Member Schwarzy. And Member Tornatori.
Okay, thank you, Member Yu. And on to Transportation and Member Ozog.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for approval of DTR 005323, intergovernmental agreement between the County of DuPage and the Village of Lombard for Central
Second.
Signal System Expansion Number 4 pertaining to installation and future maintenance responsibilities. County to be reimbursed for $486,000.
It has been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Member Ozog.
Yes.
Member Rutledge. Member Schwarzy. Member Tornatori. Member Yu. Member Zay. Member Cahill. Member Chaplin.
Aye.
Member Childress. Member Covert. Member Desart. Member Eckhoff. Member Evans.
Aye.
Member Galassi. Member Garcia. Member Guston. Member Krajewski. And Member LaPlante.
Okay, Member Ozog.
Thank you. I move for approval of DTP 005123, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Roland Machinery Company to furnish and deliver one HD tandem roller for the Division of Transportation for a
Second, Mr.
contract
Burrell.
total amount not to exceed $56,017.05.
Leave is granted. Member Ozog.
I move for approval of DTP 005223, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Auto Tech Centers to furnish and deliver Goodyear tires as needed for the Department of Transportation for the period February 15, 2023 through March 31st, 2024 for a contract total not to exceed $150,000.
Second, Mr. Burrell.
Leave is granted. Member Ozog.
Thank you. I move for approval of DTP 005023, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Walter Incorporated to furnish and deliver one Doosan forklift at the Division of Transportation, contract total not to exceed $36,658.09.
Leave is granted. Member Ozog.
Okay. Now, I'd like to move to combine items E through M.
Okay,
Okay, all in favor?
roll call, please. Oh, all in favor? Okay, that was easy. Okay, Member Ozog.
Okay, items E through M are all amendments to intergovernmental agreements for mowing between the DuPage County and various municipalities, and these are all to reduce the amount of funding. So with the leave of the state's attorney, I'm going to read a abbreviated version of these. So first, I'd like to move for approval of DTR 004A19, an amendment to an intergovernmental agreement between County of DuPage, Addison Township, a reduction of $18,195. Next, I'd like to move for approval of DTR 0021A19, an amendment to a resolution intergovernmental agreement between County of DuPage and Bloomingdale Township, reduction of $29,822. I'd like to move for approval of DTR 0921B18, an amendment to an IGA between County of DuPage, Village of Carroll Stream for mowing, decrease the funding in the amount of $6,060.10. I move for approval of DTR 0043A19, an amendment to an IGA between County of DuPage, Village of Glendale Heights to reduce the funding in the amount of $43,080.70. Move for approval of DTR 0954A18, an amendment to IGA between County of DuPage and Naperville Township, reduce the funding in the amount of $221,578. I move for approval of DTR 0242A19, an amendment to an IGA between the County of DuPage and City of Wheaton for a reduction in the amount of $2,991.25. And finally, I move for approval of an amendment to an IGA between County of DuPage and Village of Willowbrook for mowing county roads to decrease the funding in the amount of $23,260, resulting in a final county cost of $47,030. Oh, yes, I do. I'm sorry. Thank you. I now move for approval of DTR. Thank you. I move for approval of DTR 00199B19, amendment to an IGA between County of DuPage and Winfield Township for a reduction of $32,209. And I move for approval of DTR 0078A19, amendment to an IGA between County of DuPage and Village of Woodridge for a reduction of $18,919.72.
Okay. Leave is granted. Member Ozak.
Okay, I now move for approval of DTR 0381B15, amendment to a resolution, local public agency amendment for federal participation between the County of DuPage and IDOT for improvements along County Highway 33 75th Street from Adams to Plainfield Road to decrease the funding in the amount of $6,497.37.
Leave is granted. Member Ozak.
Move for approval of DTR 0543A15, amendment to a resolution, local public agency agreement for federal participation between County of DuPage and IDOT for improvements, County Highway 31, Plainfield Road from Lamont to Cass, to decrease funding in the amount of $356,554.81.
Leave is granted. Member Ozak.
Move for approval of DTR 0155B15, amendment to resolution, local public agency agreement between the County of DuPage and Illinois Department of Transportation for traffic signal upgrades at various county and state intersections to decrease the funding in the amount of $7,020.68.
Leave is granted. Member Ozak.
Move for approval of DTR 0156A15, amendment to resolution, local public agency agreement, federal participation between County of DuPage and IDOT, improvements related to the installation of the DuPage County Central Signal System to decrease the funding in the amount of $10,878.95.
Leave is granted. Member Ozak.
And finally, I move for approval of DTR 0281A21, amendment to resolution issued to Schroeder Asphalt for County Highway 4, Bloomingdale Road, and County Highway 21, Geneva Road intersection improvements to increase the funding in the amount of $20,444.91.
Leave is granted. Thank you, Member Ozag.
Thank you.
Okay, and 19 is discussion. Is there any discussion? Okay. Do any members have anything in old business to discuss? Okay, Member Kajewski and then Member Ozag.
Thank you. Two things real quick. This board last year helped out the natatorium with a little bit of seed money and partnered with the Village of Westmont and Choose DuPage to help secure some national events for swimming. They have an Olympic swimming pool there. They had a 10-day window, and when they went out to bid on these events, they got I think they got all 4 of them, national events, and I just got a text from the Westmont trustees saying that their economic development directors invited them over to the pool today, but they have 1,400 families traveling to DuPage for this weekend for an event there. So a little bit of money that we helped and partnered with Westmont is going to generate some economic boom for that Oak Brook Westmont area. So I know Member LaPlante, I think, is now his new economic chair, will be heading out there. The old chair, Amy Chavez, was out there when we worked on that deal. Second thing, we as a board have the right to change and amend our rules, our board rules. We also have the right to regulate how we receive public comment. And I'd like to see if maybe there gives staff some consensus about the online emails that we receive. If we could just make those part of public record in the minutes and also just email them all to us to read. We implemented this during COVID. We've had a few examples recently, like at development, where a petitioner pulled from the agenda the issue, but yet Sam had to read 62 pages of public comment when the item wasn't even on there. And we also, over the COVID period, there's sometimes during election season we have attacks on certain people, and it's uncomfortable, I know, for staff to read it. Staff would probably enjoy us not having, especially Evan, not having to read that, but make it part of the record. And then talking to Nick yesterday, they kind of looked around, and we seem to be maybe the only entity. In fact, I don't know, do you find any, Nick, that actually right now? So nobody's receiving out there other counties and reading at the public meeting during public comment. Clearly, people can show up and comment there, but if we give them some direction, they could come back and change those rules. And I think that's all, but I think Member Zay may also have one other one that they'd like to discuss. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Now that we're coming out of COVID, and I've been guilty of this, when we're coming in via Zoom for meetings for the 3 reasons, I just think I've tried to chair meetings via Zoom, and it's almost impossible. So I'm thinking maybe we should change it that those members can still attend the meeting, but they can't chair a meeting via Zoom. I think our state's attorney has some, we can talk to them about that too, that it's, I'm not sure if chairing a meeting when you're not in attendance is the proper thing. It's just hard for everybody to hear, you're not in the room, you can't see. And like I said, I've tried to do it twice. Once we had technical problems, the other time I have to wait for Sarah to say something like the first and second's been made. So, I mean, it's really difficult. So again, you can attend, but I don't think chairing a meeting via Zoom is probably a good idea.
Okay, Member Desart?
Thank you. I wanted to address public comment as well. And I know that during our Rules Committee, during the last group of board before the election, we decided that we wanted to be pretty firm on that 3-minute rule. And I know that many other entities, like Naperville, for example, during their municipal city council meetings, they say, okay, that's 3 minutes, you're done. And you know, they'll shut off the mic. Am I right, former Councilwoman Guston? When your 3 minutes is up, your 3 minutes is up. And I would really like us to, I mean, we're going long and we still have committee meetings after this, so I'd really like us to consider being finite with that 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, if there's consensus on the two motions, no, suggestions, sorry, the two suggestions.
So if we could just see if there was general consensus, no vote, just general consensus, it would come back to the board twice. When we amended the rules, they did come to county board twice since it is a big policy change. So obviously it wouldn't be a final decision today, but if there's general consensus that this is the direction you would like staff to take to draft those rules, then the chair could direct them to, if that's the will of the board.
Okay. Okay. So I'm looking for consensus to move forward to direct staff to look into making these changes.
Changes of public comment online?
I think there's
not to read
three
them anymore?
Public comment online and chairing a meeting.
Oh, and the
over
chairing on Zoom, okay, thank you.
And emails online only versus reading them into the record. Because we had that same problem, Mayor, Chairwoman, if I could. People would write in and then we would just continue and then the meeting we didn't get work done. So the reality is we actually, at the city, everything was online. If you wrote, it was online. We all read it online. So it was there for people to read. But we didn't read them at the meetings because we couldn't get our meetings done at that point. And to your point about the 3-minute rule, you are correct. 3-minute rule is there. However, sadly, it falls upon the chair or the mayor to kind of firmly go, their 3 minutes are up, and then that whole thing stops. So, again, I hear what you're saying, but there's not, you know, we don't handcuff anybody and get them out. It's more about the order of the order of the room, And I do agree that having the committee chair in the room physically for a newcomer is important versus online through Zoom. So if it's, you know, of value to people.
Okay, well, I do commend the board that was here when you did do the online because that was very important during COVID. So do we have consensus to have staff move forward with this? Okay, then we will direct them to do that. Thank you. Any new business?
I was old
Oh,
business.
I'm sorry, Member Ozog?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I want to thank you for the moment of silence for the Michigan State situation last night, or incident last night. I was reminded last night that once an MSU, Michigan State University parent, always an MSU parent, when I got the call from my daughter, who has been graduated for a while but still has friends working on campus. It was a very terrible night in Michigan, my home state. I want to share a quote last night from Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan. She is a 2-time Michigan State grad and grew up right there in East Lansing. Parents across Michigan are on pins and needles calling their kids tonight, checking on them and telling them that they love them. It doesn't have to be this way. This is a uniquely American problem. Too many of us scan rooms for exits when we enter them. We plan who that last text or call would go to. We should not. We cannot accept living like this. Tonight, Spartans will cry and hold each other a little closer. We will mourn the loss of beautiful souls and pray for those fighting for their lives in the hospital. All 3 dead and the 5 students in the hospital they were all students. Two of my children have been involved in active shooter incidences. Who's next? How many more? We don't have to live this way. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Ozog. Okay, new business. No new business. Okay, I am informed that we do have matters before us. So sorry, guys in the back row. Before us, requiring us to enter into executive session. I'll ask those not associated with executive session to please exit the room. I will take a motion to go into executive session. Okay. It has been moved and seconded.
Are we under both of them? State's attorney?
What's he asking me?
We have to cite that section.
Oh, sorry, the section is Act 5, ILCS 12-2.
Okay, collective negotiations? Okay. I make that motion.
Doing the one? Are we doing the other one? Yeah. 2C11, okay.
Oh, she said 2. Then 11, C11. C11.
We are back in open session. Mr. Deputy Clerk, please take the roll to ensure quorum.
Member Cahill, Member Chaplin,
Here.
Member Childress, Member Covert, Member Desart, Member Eckhoff, Member Evans, Member Galassi, Member Garcia, Member Guston, Member Krajewski, Member LaPlante, Member Ozog, Member Rutledge, Member Schwarzy, Member Tornatori, Member Yu, and Member Zay.
Okay, I'll now take a motion to adjourn. All in favor? This meeting is adjourned until Tuesday, February 28th, 2023 at 10 a.m.